I've been excited to make this video purely so that I can judge you all. As you can tell from the title, this is about BookTok's kind of biggest books over the past, I'd say 2.5 years that I've read, and I'm going to discuss talking about them, especially because a bunch of them I've read recently, so I want to discuss my thoughts, okay? So I'm gonna go straight into it. The first one, The 7 Husbands of Evelyn. Trash, Hugo. Trash book, trash fucking book. Hated it. And it's funny because I didn't hate Daisy Jones. I love Daisy Jones, but I hated 7 Husbands. I have a whole video on why I hated The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, and it actually performed really well on here, like, and there is so many people agreeing with me, and I was so relieved. But I literally hated it. It was so boring. The characters were insufferable. It's a white woman talking about a Mexican woman, from what I remember, and it's just like, oh god, I don't want to be here. It was awful. And again, a straight woman discussing a queer woman, and it's just like, what the fuck? It was shit. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. I don't understand how people liked it, and additionally the plot twist at the end was so bland. I was so fucking bored. I knew nothing about the character that was interviewing Evelyn, and yet somehow I was supposed to be shocked at the end when we learned something about her. It's like, I don't remember her fucking name. It was just so badly done. I hated it. I get stressed every time I fucking talk about this book because I truly fucking hated it so much. Again, it's not anything against Taylor Jenkins Reid. I love Daisy Jones so much. I cried my eyes out reading that fucking book, okay? This, on the other hand, I can't. And before we continue on into the next books, I'm just going to tell you right here, right now, I will never in my life pick up a Coho book. Never. Not even for free. Not for free. You couldn't pay me to read that fucking bitch's work. And before some rando attacks me for that shit, her son was accused of sexual assault, and she hid it. Like, she supported him through that. Get fucked. I don't even need to read her books to know that she romanticizes abuse and toxic relationships and all that bollocks. Oh, can't stand motherfuckers like that. Fucking hate these bitches so bad. So that's not gonna come anywhere near this video. It's never gonna come near me. It's never gonna come near my content. Ever. But I'll tell you what else will. So I decided to read the Atlas 6 because I saw this a lot on TikTok. And the thing is, like, I know I'm kind of in like the fantasy kind of realm on BookTok a lot of the time because I do love a good fantasy book. I do. I didn't like it at all. Oh, here's the thing, is like, there are books on this list I fucking loved, but for the most part I do not trust BookTok with an inch of my life. Not at all. The issue with the Atlas 6 was it was so much more bearable than the 7 Husbands. Let me just start on that, okay? But it was like, you're thrown into this situation without getting to know any of these characters, and then when you do get to know these characters, you're too far deep into this situation that they're in, and it's too hectic. Like, there's too much going on, and I think there was an attempt at world building that just wasn't that successful, because I couldn't imagine fuck all apart from where they lived, like as in the house. Apart from the house, like, I just couldn't imagine anything. I really struggled with it because it was also like a massive like orgy house, and it is just like, I feel sometimes like older writers, and by older I literally mean like 30s onwards, I'm not talking about old people, I'm just talking 30s onwards, write about teenagers or younger people and just having loads of sex, and it's just, I don't know, there's just something weird about it to me. It's not problematic, but I feel a bit icky about it, and especially when it's like in the context of like every single one of them is fucking each other. Yeah, I can't do it. It makes me feel sick. I can't. And yeah, I just felt like it was an unsuccessful attempt at what could have been a great plot. Like I really enjoyed the premise of the video. So it wasn't that it failed on that end, it was just that of the video, of the fucking book. It was just that it wasn't executed as well as it could have been, and so I didn't enjoy it. But anyway, oh, this one, okay, I saw everyone talking about this for the past 2 years. I feel like this is a book that its hype has continued for years. So, but I refuse to buy it because the cover is so ugly. Archer's Voice. I listened to the audiobook of this because it's on YouTube for free. You're welcome. You're welcome. I listened to it and I liked it. It was good. I have a thing for like really cheesy, awful romance books. I'm not saying that like this is an awful book, but just in general, like I have a thing for like cheesy romances, okay? I love it. Even if it's like an awful fucking book, I will give it a 5 purely because I enjoyed it. That's kind of how I felt about this one. There was, again, this is like, there was a lot happening in this, but it also kind of threw me back to like the good old days of being like a teenager and like the kind of romance books I would read then and really enjoyed. And so I kind of loved it because it felt like a nostalgic, safe like genre, and the way it was written was really similar. Like I'm trying to, what's the fucking, there's a series, like a fantasy series, but it was like romance heavy that I loved, and it was written like that. I think it was called Onyx, and then like the other one was like, the series was called like Opal or some shit, but it was like Onyx series, I think. And it really reminded me of that, and I read that when I was like 19, so not long ago, but just it felt so like comforting, and it was well written for a cheesy romance. So yeah, just enjoyed it. I felt attached to the characters, and for me that's always like a sign of like good writing, is that if I can get attached to a character, then you can write well. Then I read The Secret History. This book I didn't expect to like, because even though it is a classic in some respect, it's a modern classic, I'm not big on reading like thriller, mystery, drama all in one. Like in general, I don't like a thriller book, I don't like a mystery book, so all of that in one is kind of like meh for me usually. But I like The Secret History, and actually it's one of those books that when it sits with you for a while after, you like it even more, like you realize how good it was. So yeah, I loved The Secret History. I think it was really good. I didn't give it a 5, but I still really enjoyed it. I think it was well written, absolutely, and the plot was fantastic, so I loved The Secret History. This was like the first book I think that I bought that BookTok like influenced. And it was last January, and it was The Love Hypothesis by 𝙂𝙧𝙧𝙀. Yeah, I love this fucking book. I read it in a day, in a singular day. I couldn't put that shit down. I couldn't put that shit down. I fucking loved it. Her second book was shit, but her third book, Love Theoretically, was brilliant, and I fucking love it. So I'll read pretty much anything 𝙂𝙧𝙧𝙀 will write, just because they're cheesy romances in it. Oh my god, this was like the second book that I read from BookTok. People We Meet on Vacation. This was so trash. This is so trash. I don't understand how anyone enjoyed it. I want you to know that all of the books here that I don't like, I sold them because I didn't even want to look at them. Okay? People We Meet on Vacation. What the fuck kind of bullshit trash. The title doesn't make sense because it's about them. It's not about people they meet on vacation. It's about them. So I'm like, this doesn't even make any sense. And then the characters were so bland. Both of them had no personality. None. Barely any redeeming qualities. It started off okay, and then it just died, and I can not really remember even how the fucking book went. So no, it's a no from me. Then, oh my god, this one. I read it, A Little Life. Yeah, it took me like over a year to read it because I was like, I'm on the edge about depressing books because I read before I sleep. And I don't like books like A Girl Is a Half-Formed Thing where it's purely depression. There's no redeeming moments, there's no happiness, there's no glimpse of light in it, because to me that's unrealistic. As someone who's had depression and been suicidal and been through abusive relationships and everything, like you can fucking list, it's still not realistic to think that that's how life is. There are always going to be glimpses of light and happiness and moments of good, even amongst the bullshit. You might not be able to appreciate them, but they'll still be good and they'll still be there. So yeah, I can't do depressing books which are just depressing from beginning to end, no break. But what I loved about A Little Life was that it was so realistic in the sense of like, it had the moments that were redeeming. Like it had those glimpses of light. You had moments of hope. You had moments of the past and nostalgia, but they weren't even portrayed in the negative way that you would think it would be portrayed, because it's such a negative past that you're not seeing it through the adult's eyes, you're seeing it through the child's eyes, which is why it's so like, it feels like such a positive time. So I loved that it was so realistically written and it was so beautiful, and even though it's a long book, I genuinely couldn't put it down. I gave it 5 stars. I was just one of my favourite books ever, to be honest. It was so easy for me to get attached to these characters, and it was a page turner, and there was just no flaws I could even put about this fucking book. It was too good. Finally, this is again another recent read, Icebreaker by Hannah Grace. I actually enjoyed this. The first half, or like the first third of the book, I didn't like I was finding it very hard to like the characters. The plot kind of felt like it was going nowhere, and then kind of like as soon as it hit midway I was like, okay, I can get with this. And then by the end I was like, real, I love this so much, so real. So yeah, I loved it. I love a pining man, Nathan, my man, my literary fictional man. But it was just, again, it's just a cheesy romance book. There's nothing like super special about it. It was just a good, like well executed and written cheesy romance, and I enjoyed it, and it was a good recommendation for like the first time ever from BookTok. So but yeah, that's my list of like books I've read that BookTok inspired me to pick up and read. Honestly, there's probably a lot more, but I am gonna do another video soon, so look out for that. It's a little bit different, but you'll see. I love you guys, and I will see you later.